and now we're going to talk a little bit about the virtual flea market and why it's a great opportunity to buy and sell and trade games. Get rid of any games that you don't want in your shelves anymore and buy a whole bunch of games at really good discounted value. So what is a virtual flea market? A virtual flea market is for people who are traveling to the conventions, buyers and sellers who only want to bring games that they have sold. So for sellers in particular, you're only bringing games that you sold. If you're a buyer, you want to plan on how much space you have to have, so you don't have to use the FedEx unless you end up buying a lot more than you expected. But basically, buyers want to plan how much space they need to bring games home. So that's where the virtual flea market comes in. If you have items that you'd like to sell, then you list them on the virtual flea market with the condition of the item, the price, and any kind of terms, like what kind of payments you'll accept, whether you really want cash or you'll take PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle or something else like that. Buyers can offer lower prices and sellers are free to either accept or decline offers. So oftentimes buyers will give an envelope with pre-counted money with the person's name and the name of the game that they're buying. So it's an easy transaction. I have a box full of games. Here you go. Here's my money. Open it up, make sure it's all there. You have all your games, good to go. The virtual flea market is really great. They've been doing this for a long time. It's very professional. Sterling Babcock is the one who puts it together. He runs a great event. Basically, you're going to have a great experience. I definitely recommend doing it, and here's how to do it. All right, so let's talk about you are new to Board Game Geek or you're new to the virtual flea market and you want to list some games. So the first thing you do is you have to register with Board Game Geek. So you go to boardgamegeek.com and register. Once you've done that, you go to the Geek list, which is a virtual flea market for BGGCon 2023. Below the header, you click the little plus sign or add item sign, and then you select board game, and then a text section will be added. Enter the name of your board game where it states enter board game. The game image ID will automatically be generated. Of note, you can change the image if you click on the little magnifying glass. Then after that, depending on, I guess, which version of the game you have, then after that, you type in the description of your game. Often people will include the price, general condition, if it's available to be shipped. Most of the time, it's a no ship option. You have to be at the convention. People don't really want to deal with the shipping. If you're going to be at the virtual flea market or if it needs to be picked up outside of the virtual flea market, payment types accepted, such as cash, PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, etc. And then you check the box. After that, you're going to check the box that says subscribe to this geek list or subscribe, and then it'll let you subscribe to that particular item, which will let you know when someone comments on your item. You can also subscribe to the entire geek list, which can get a little overwhelming, but if you're interested in just following everything, you can. And then you click save at the bottom of the page and you post your game. And then you wait, and if someone bids on it, you'll get a notification. You go up to the top where the little megaphone symbol is, and it'll be a little red number up there, and you click on that, and it'll take you to the geek list, and you click on that and you go to the spot where they commented. You can reply with either you accept their offer. Some people will just be like, I accept your offer. Some people will be like, nope, I'm sticking to my price. There's also a thing called buy it now, which is basically if someone says, Ben, buy it now for $20, if you type $20 on there as a comment, they're going to sell it to you at that price without haggling. So if you are a seller, you want to look at different resources like the price history. So if you go to a game on Board Game Geek, you can go to the price history and look at see what the game is available for sale. And then you can also look and see what the history has been in the past. You can also look on Amazon. You can also look on other online resources. You might also look at for the virtual flea market, there's a search function that is listed. In this case, it's called the alphabetic search tool, and it's under seller guidelines. You click on that. It's put out. This one is done by Eric Beton or Baton, and his username is Carnegie994, and basically it's Yule Game is his website, and you click on that and you can see everything that's available. You can look and see what's sold, what's not. You can search for games on there. So for example, if you are selling Dune Imperium, you can go on there and see, oh, Dune Imperium sold for $35, so I should probably price mine at $35. Or I put mine at $40, and then someone will offer me $35, and I accept that. So there's a little strategy there for you. So if you want to leave it open, just put a price on there and see what people say. If you want a specific price for your game, you can put a buy it now or bin acronym on there. Another thing you could do is you can auction it. Let's say you're not sure what you think this game will go for. You can set it up as an auction. You can say the soft bid, which is the starting bid, if you will, soft bid, starting bid, is $10. And then to buy it now, if someone puts $30, then that means I want that. 1, 2, 3 sold. Boom. How you bid on games is obviously you still must have registered with BoardGameGeek.com. You log in. Below the game name and description, click on comment. It'll say something like, say something nice. Type in your offer in the new field below the game and description. Okay, so if you're wanting to buy a game, you can go to the search function, and when you click on that, it'll tell you the game name, the price, and all those different things. It's super easy to use. You click through on the game name, and then you click on comment and add a price. I personally offer a price. Now, I put the name of the game in my comment as well. So I can go back. There's a way to go back in your history and look and see what comments you've made. And basically you just say, oh, I bid on $15. What was it? Well, I wrote the name down. So it was $15 on Marvel Splendor. It was one of the games I bought this year. And so basically you can also get deals at a much lower price. So for price expectations, generally speaking, I would say that eBay is probably your most expensive, and then maybe local game stores or, online Facebook groups. Some of those, you're going to find some good deals. Online Facebook groups internationally are more expensive than your local Facebook buy-sell trade groups. And then you have buying and selling in your gaming community. My gaming community has a trade post we do every month. And so we often buy, sell, and trade with each other. Or the cheaper option is the virtual flea market or Bazaar. If you're wanting to get really good deals as a buyer, I would say this is often the place to go. You'll often find games at 30% or 50% or less of MSRP. So essentially what you're doing is you're taking your stack of games, selling them for a whole other stack of games, right, that you might be interested in. So it's you're kind of paying it forward a little bit too. So I would definitely say that following up with those is a good idea. So as a seller, I've been both a seller and a buyer on the virtual flea market. You have to decide as a seller in particular, do you want to be someone who's going to price aggressively and make deals with people because you just want the games gone and you want money or a trade or something? Or do you want to kind of keep your games at a specific level and you're okay with maybe just selling the more popular or well-known games that you were trying to sell? Oftentimes, if you do not price aggressively, you're going to list 20 games and maybe 3 or 4 of them are going to sell. Or you might price very aggressively and list 100 games and sell 80 of them, especially if you're willing to do deals on multiple types of games, right? If you're looking for a good deal, then the VFM is the place to look. If you're a seller and you're motivated, you should be able to sell your games. If you want the best prices, maybe eBay or an online Facebook group or something is a better option than selling on the virtual flea market. This is where you go to get good deals. And there's a community that's built around this. And at any given time, there's probably 300 to 700 people that participate in this, 300 to 700 people. So there's also a way to meet some people as well. Okay, so let's talk about some of the games. So Castles of Burgundy sold for $15. It's the first item on the list. Quacks of Quedlinburg, it sold for $30. And then there was a bunch of, you can sell the items either as a okay, this is the game and the expansions and all the extra stuff, or you can sell it individually. This person sold the BGG Geek Up bits for $30 and BG Geek Up bits for the Herb Witches for I think 25 or something like that. So from the perspective of the virtual flea market, there is times where as a buyer I will buy $1,000 worth of games, and I'll negotiate every deal, and every deal is just fantastic for the most part, or it's a game that I really want. Sometimes I'm a seller and I'll just sell a bunch of games and I'll walk away with, money to pay for my convention and the hotel and maybe a little extra. And then at other times, I'm like this year, I'm actually both a buyer and a seller. So it kind of depends on what you want to do. So oftentimes with the virtual flea market, I will buy games that, like for example, this year, the one that I was really looking for, which kind of as an aside, there's also a separate geek list for you to go in and say, I am looking for this particular game. And then someone will say, it's number 5,172 on the list, or I have one of these, I will sell it to you. And then you add it to the list. So you can also request games, which is kind of nice. This year I wanted to get Terraforming Mars, the dice game. It's a new game that came out, and I played it with a friend and I enjoyed it. And I was like, hey, I'd like to get this game. Well, it's not available yet. And so I'm like, well, I'll just try to get the game. And several copies came in on the virtual flea market, but they were all taken. And finally, someone said, hey, I got a copy for you if you want it. And I was thinking, maybe I'll pay $50 for it. I don't know. And I said, would you take 45? And they said yes. And I was super happy because now I'm going to get a game that I really want and I can look forward to. I can even play it at the convention. So some of the games that I've sold, for example, this time, Seven Wonders sold for $12. Basically, the next thing we're going to talk about is the Bazaar. So the Bazaar is similar to the virtual flea market, except the virtual flea market, you buy everything ahead of time. The Bazaar, you go and you buy it in person. Why is that good? Well, because in person, you might be able to get better deals than you would if you did it online. At least that's a theory. The important stuff is you have to be, if you are, buyers and sellers must be badged, meaning you have to have a ticket to BGGCon. There's no electric amplifiers allowed. The main thing is you can't use the bell carts from the hotel. You will get in trouble for that. Basically, you're responsible for getting your own your own games to the event. You can bring your own wagon, for example, or other dolly or whatever it is you want to do. Bring it in boxes and bring it down and load them up. Typically, there's 60 tables. They're 6 feet by 30 inches. There's like space between the tables, and so basically there's a flow of traffic, and you can look at the games as you kind of walk by, and if you see something that catches your eye, you make an offer. So this is actually for selling games and related accessory items. Raffle and activities of chances are not allowed, so don't try to do that. This is also not a time for a game publisher to sell their games or a game store to sell stock. That's for the vendor hall. Okay. There are table assignments. Tables are pretty much filled up now, but basically, if you want to buy, you just show up, you get in line, and you buy a bunch of stuff from the Bazaar. You're gonna want to bring some cash because most of the transactions are done by cash at the Bazaar, and you're gonna want to bring some change in case you find a game that's $12. The person may or may not have a change for a $10 and a $5 bill. So bring some cash. Do negotiate and haggle with people because oftentimes they want to sell their games. There was one person who came one year and they said, just buy my games, just buy my games. So every 10 minutes or so, they would reduce their prices on games. This used to be called the Bazaar Marketplace for reference. And so that kind of wraps up this section. I highly recommend going to the Bazaar. You're going to buy some games at really inexpensive prices. You're going to get some good deals. You're going to get to haggle and have fun and see what's available. You might even get some Kickstarters for a fraction of the price. Highly recommend going to the Bazaar. You're going to get some really good deals at some great prices. And I recommend checking it out. You're going to haggle. You're going to have fun. You're going to walk away with some games maybe even some new and shrink games or some games that are Kickstarters that you might not otherwise have access to. The other thing is you really need to set a budget limit. So the reason why I carry cash personally is because I have walked in there and bought a bunch of games by accident. I meant to buy 1 or 2 games, and I walk out with 20 games. And, not only have I busted my budget on the cash, but I've also used Venmo and PayPal to pay a bunch of stuff that I may or may not have really needed. It just seemed like a good deal, and why not, right? It's board games. And I'm going to be talking about the math trade now. The math trade is basically where you throw in some games into a pool of games. You say kind of what you want, and you end up hopefully with something that you would like to get. So there's a Geek list, there's a want list. The noon Central Time on Monday, November 6th, is when typically they post the results. And then you exchange the games. You create a list of the games you want, you list the games that you have, and hopefully you end up with something that you enjoy. But there's not a guarantee. I mean, most of the time you end up with something that's similar. Basically, they assign, as I understand it, is they assign point values to different games, and then these people get these games and these people get these games, and everybody ends up with something. And because it's still around, I'm assuming that people are happy with it. So definitely try it out. Of note, you cannot list games on the math trade and on the virtual flea market. They don't want you doing that. The meetup is at 5 on Thursday. You can also volunteer with Team Geek. Unfortunately, that's probably past. You can't do it anymore. There's a big group of people that volunteers their time. They get a ticket. They get a shirt. They get to go around smiling and assisting people. So if you see Team Geek, shake their hand, give them a high five or a fist bump, and just thank them for all that they do to make this event possible. If you want to volunteer next year for Team Geek, you should look for the sign-up sheet at least 6 to 9 months in advance. And there is I'll put it in, there's a link where you go to follow the thread of BGGCon, and they'll post it on there. You apply for it, and you must have been at least to one of the conventions before you get to volunteer. Oftentimes with the BGCon, there is a virtual charity sale or an in-person sale. I'm not sure if that is happening this year, but basically what BGG does is they sell games to benefit Cafe Momentum. This has been done in the past by DFW Nerd Night. DFW Nerd Night is a DFW-based nonprofit that throws monthly board game parties and raises awareness and support for different local charities. So as you imagine, if they get 8,000 or 9,000 games, they just need to start culling games that people don't play. So what they do is they have either an online version or an in-person version, and they sell the games at a reasonable price, and it goes to benefit Cafe Momentum. Cafe Momentum is a Dallas-based restaurant and culinary training facility. Say that 10 times fast. Their mission is to transform young lives by equipping our community's most at-risk youth with life skills, education, and employment opportunities to help them achieve their full potential. Really great thing. I bought games in the past, and I always enjoy supporting that. It's mainly older games, so you're not gonna find a lot of like A-list games. These are games that are not being played anymore. So they're gonna be older games that are not in the top 500 most of the time. But I mean, for $5 or $10 or $20 or however it is, it can be a good deal. Sometimes they will sell Kickstarters or bundle games together so that you might get some games that might be harder to get. And again, it goes towards a good cause. So that's pretty cool. If you want, like and subscribe, and I'm sure I'll be putting out more of this content and other board game related content soon. Thanks for stopping by.